We've seen how we can access the formula's code and potentially make changes, but what we haven't seen is really how you can edit that formula. For example, if we were to pick on this one here, right click, toggle the field code. Although we are looking at the code, there's actually nothing to stop us changing that code. So we could change the sum to average, toggle it back round, update it so that it recalculates, and then it calculates the average as 31.67. We could do exactly the same here. Toggle the field code, change the sum for average, toggle it back around again, and then update. And potentially for the last one, right click, toggle the field code, and make the change. Now, if you were to type a function that didn't exist, so if I type too much, for example, and then toggle that back around, you'll see it looks like it still works until we update, and then we get a syntax error because I've used the wrong function. So toggle the field codes and repair that to average, toggle back round, still says a syntax error because I have to refresh, update the field, and then I get my average. So really that could do with a proper label, average. Now I know in the population table here that these two formulas are currently classed as sum above. Right click, toggle the code, sum above, and this one also toggle the field code. Now this one's done a little bit extra because it's multiplying by 100 and then adding some formatting. But if I were to insert another row below here, in fact 2 rows, and I wanted to selectively use a formula, so perhaps to look at the top 2 and the top 5, then I couldn't use the insert formula option to sum above because I'd end up with double results. What I want to be able to add are just those 2 and then the first 5. So what we'll do is we'll add the formula in that says equals sum above, OK, and it adds everything, so I get to see the population twice. But then we will toggle the code and replace the above with the actual cell references. Now the way that cell references work is that each column is lettered, so that's A, B, C, and each row is numbered, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I want to add up the top 2, that's that cell and that cell, I simply say equals sum B2, comma, B3. Right click, update the field, and that's the result of the first 2. 2,564,000,000. I could do exactly the same for the one below. Let's do the little copy and paste that we've done previously. So let's copy and paste, right click, toggle the field codes. Now this time I want the top 5, so that's B2, B3, B4, B5 and B6. Well, because there's 5 of them and they're in consecutive order, then I can say B2 colon B6, and it will pick up everything inclusive between B2 and B6. Right click, update the field, and you see that then there's 3.3 billion. I could do the same with this percentages. So let's take a copy of that and paste that into here and here. Then I need to toggle the field code. Now I'm going to keep the times 100 and the formatting, so I'm just replacing the above with C2, C3, and then update the field. So the first 2 countries in the world account for 36% of the population. Toggle the code for this one, replace the above there with C2 colon C6, so that's the top 5 countries again, and right click, update the field, and that's 46.83%. So there I've been able to actually edit the formula, not just, if I go in, to replace the above with left or right, actually to reference the cells within this table that I want to pick up. So I can sum, I can average, I can count particular cells or ranges of cells. All I have to remember is that each column is a letter that starts at A and progresses to B, C, and depending on how many columns you've got, and each row is a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, don't forget the header row is row 1, etc., allowing me to use my formulas to access any values within my table. Now once you've actually created a formula, we know we can move between the code and not the code, and we know we can refresh to update the values, but what you can also do is effectively kill off the formula and convert it into a value. So if I were to take this value here, which is the top 5, and I didn't want it to be a formula anymore, I've used the formula tool to get it to work it out, but then I want it to be a static value. If I do Control, Shift and F9, it then effectively kills off the formula. So if I now click away from this and click back in and do my Control, Shift, F9, and then click away and click back in, you'll see it doesn't have a grey area behind it anymore. And when I right click, there's no formula options. It's now a static number. So that's Control, Shift and F9. Now once you've killed a formula off, effectively turning it into a static value, it cannot then be turned back into a formula, because Word will forget that's how it created it. So you could use the formula tool to create your summary results at the bottom and then convert them back into static text to stop them from changing if anyone updates or refreshes the formulas, because they're now no longer formulas. So that's Control, Shift and F9 will kill the formula off. So here I could update that to come back around to being formula values, but then highlight that formula, Control, Shift, F9, then converts that formula into a static value. So when I click away and click back on, there is no field shading because it's no longer a formula field doing any work.